So welcome to our Frozen Forum Flash for episode 21 of the Frozen Forum podcast. We have 10 questions for you, Nathan. We have 5 on the Montreal Canadiens, 5 on the rest of the NHL. You've got about 30 seconds. We've been a little bit lax about that lately, but for each question. And so the Frozen Forum Flash is starting now. Question number 1. Considering that he is not currently used on the penalty kill or when 5-on-6, like in the last 2 minutes of the game, would you use Lane Hutson in place of a forward in either of those two situations?
No, I wouldn't. We talked about it earlier this podcast, not changing what works. We talked about it with Michael Pezzetta and his low amount of minutes. It's been working for us. Lane Hutson doesn't necessarily need to be on for those key points, especially if it's working for us right now. But if it starts to fall apart, then yeah, definitely throw Lane Hutson on. He's proved that he's one of our top players on the team. Don't change a thing right now. Leave him off.
I like the answer. Question number 2. There is a lot of good talk about Alex Carrier since he was traded to the Montreal Canadiens. I believe he has 4 or 5 assists through 9 games. How much of his success, though, should be attributed to the play of Kaiden Guhle, his partner on the ice?
I'm going to let you answer this one because I have not seen too much of it, to be honest.
Look, I point to this. The thing I'll point to is if you look back in Montreal Canadiens history, right? Andrei Markov was on the team for a very long time, and he was never a flashy player, right? Never a super, like, he's not a PK Subban. But every single player that he played with looked like an all-star, right? PK Subban looked like an all-star. When PK Subban went to Nashville, people were like, oh, wait, maybe he's not actually as good as we thought he was. It was because he was playing with Andrei Markov. I look at Alex Carrier, the subtle things that Kaiden Guhle does on a regular basis, it's fantastic. And it allows Alex Carrier to go do a bunch of great things. I love those two as a pair, as a side note. We'll go into question 3, though. I don't know if you've seen these highlights of these hits, but since when is Nick Suzuki one of the hardest hitting guys on our team?
Oh, yeah. I saw some clips. Was it against Vancouver? I mean, it looked like he was getting scrappy even after that first goal. I think it was that Caulfield snipe. They all go to celebrate, and then they're about to come in for a big fight, but the refs split it up, unfortunately. That would have been pretty cool to see. I don't know what he had after the Christmas break there. Maybe something on New Year's. Something he had to drink that night, but I don't know, because he has been one feisty fellow on the ice.
He's had like 3 open ice hits since we last talked, so it's pretty big. Question number 4 for you. Do you think that the players on the team asked Marty to grow the beard? And he said, sure, but if you play badly, I'm going to shave it.
Do I think?
Well, because he's growing the beard, right? So,
Yeah.
like, do you think if we have a really bad game, the beard's coming off? Or is the beard just going to be a new staple on Marty St. Louis?
The beard's going to come off if they lose 3 terrible games in a row. We lost a game to the Blue Jackets. We probably shouldn't have lost that. We lost a game to the Blackhawks, which if we were just a little bit more disciplined, we could have won. If that happens 3 times in a row, it's coming off. There's your answer.
I like it. Okay, and question number 5, the last one about the Montreal Canadiens. The Habs were in a playoff spot for 2 days before the Blue Jackets won a game last night and took the spot back. Do you think that we will be firmly in a playoff position at any point in time this season? Or are we going to be living on the edge of the playoffs for the rest of the season?
I think we're going to be on the edge for the rest of the season. As of now, we saw what would happen in the first 20 games of the season. I think we won 9 games. And on the last 20, we've won 12 or 13. So that could obviously swing again very easily. We're going to be riding that line. This team knows how to win now, but teams are now going to be a little bit more ready to play the Montreal Canadiens. They see what we can do. We beat the last 4 Stanley Cup champions. I don't need to say anymore.
I like it. Okay, we'll go into the questions about the NHL. Reportedly, this week, a trade was offered by the New York Rangers. Zibanejad for JT Miller. 1 for 1. Obviously, Vancouver, well, that trade hasn't gone through, so Vancouver declined. How close do you think that trade actually is to being a fair trade?
It could be. Man, that is tough. Fair trade, based on this season performances, not a fair trade. Like, New York wins that trade, in my opinion. JT Miller's been far better. But from Vancouver's point of view, JT Miller and Elias Pettersson have been clashing heads supposedly the whole season. So maybe Zibanejad's that what he needs, and just that other European in there. Then they'll get things going. Maybe Zibanejad, that's what he's missing. But it's not a fair trade.
I like it. It's a good take. Obviously, Vancouver didn't think so either. We'll go to question number 7. Team USA won the World Juniors. Canada was eliminated in the quarterfinals by Czechia. We talked last week about change coming from the top of the organization. Is that why Justin Trudeau is resigning?
It's the only reason, honestly. He saw us get bounced by Czechia in the quarterfinals 2 years in a row. It was time for him to go. It was long gone, because if he hadn't left, you know what would happen? If we lost again to Czechia, US would have taken Canada just purely because we lost 3 years in a row to Czechia. So he had to bounce soon enough. And yeah, that's why Justin Trudeau left.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. I love it when organizations realize that the change has to come all the way at the top. We'll go into question number 8. There are stories of a prank that Crosby pulled on the Flower, where he rearranged the furniture in Fleury's hotel room. Fleury then, in retaliation, applied Vaseline to Crosby's visor, laced his skates backwards, and stuffed beef sticks into Crosby's jockstrap. What is your favorite prank that the two have played on each other throughout the years?
Throughout the years, I remember seeing a YouTube video once of, I think it was Fleury first tied Crosby's skates together, like in a bunch of knots, so it was impossible for him to get his skates together, so he couldn't play. And then I think Crosby retaliated by tying up all the goalie pads together, so that Fleury couldn't use his goalie pads. I think it's a YouTube video out there. If it's not that pair, it's definitely another pair of player goalie. That was pretty good. I'm blanking here on other Marc-Andre Fleury pranks because he has a bunch. But that's my favorite one, if that is them.
I think it is. I think you're right. And so we'll go with that one. We'll go to question number 9. Austin Matthews has been dealing with an injury this year. Do you think, now we don't really know exactly what the injury is, right? But do you think that Shea Weber would have missed games for this kind of an injury?
If Shea Weber's hair was falling out, probably not. If the hair plugs were falling out, I don't think he would miss time. I don't think 99% of NHL players would miss time. But when your forehead is increasing in surface area at an alarming rate, even faster than global warming, you know what? It's a little bit understandable. No, Shea Weber would not ever do that.
I love it. I love the chats about. I mean, that's gonna be our picture on this week's segment. It's gonna be Austin Matthews' hair falling out. There you go. Last question for you. Question number 10 before we go into other stuff. Did you like the alley-oop pass from Jacob Trouba, former New York Ranger, to Jonathan Huberdeau to win last night's game for the Calgary Flames?
Man, this guy goes from captain of the New York Rangers to the Ducks. Clearly hasn't improved at all. He might be done. And I think he might know that too. So he's now looking to get a contract in the NBA, and he's proved himself pretty good so far. That was a phenomenal alley-oop, right? Like 6 inches from the net, just perfect for Huberdeau to top it in. Yeah, I think he's going to get that NBA contract very soon. That's it.
Cool. Well, that wraps up our Frozen Forum Flash. Let's get into the other stuff that we've seen this week.